Welcome into ABC Sports Prime Time on Funday night. Another episode of the Prime Time program. Hope your weekend was excellent. And I know you're excited to get things rolling this week because the football team is back on the field with OTAs. We're going to talk OTAs and things to watch. We're going to talk about the start of position group battles because it will be the first time that the rookies are mixed in with the veterans. And we'll wrap things up with a Sunday Funday because that's what we do at the end of the primetime program at this time of week. We're always happy to have you guys no matter where you're streaming with us. I'm seeing some commentary that made me laugh to start the show, and it's honestly the best question that I think we're going to pose to you guys this evening before we talk Titans and rookies and veterans and quarterbacks and all kinds of fun stuff. B French in the comments on YouTube says, if Buck makes the graphics, is the host, plugs the show on social media sites, does it live, comes up with topics, engages, he said engages, which is the most interesting way that I've seen engages spelled, engages with audience, does sponsor reads and commercials, then what the hell does Bert do? I don't know what Bert does. I'm not sure what exactly they saddled me with when they decided to make the change from producer Reed to Robert. I'm not entirely sure why I've gone along with this for as long as I have because I'm trying to figure out exactly what the appeal is. Now, Trippin' Titan says it's sex appeal. If you've ever seen him shirtless, I think that would work very counter. In fact, it is one of the most biologically confusing questions of our generation is how the hell any woman could be attracted to that red/pink/orange. I don't even know what to describe him as, but just that particular individual we're trying to figure out as he shovels cheese and crackers into his face behind the scenes. I think he just chased something with a slice of pizza. It's as physically attractive as he's ever been. Rishi says that Bert monitors. I'm not sure entirely that that's true either because most of the time he's paying attention to his video games. But either way, let's keep it moving. Let's go ahead and remind you guys that you need to share the show. Wherever you're hanging out with us on these live stream social platforms, we invite you to share the broadcast with your friends. If you're hanging out on Twitter, please retweet it. Bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Facebook Live, you can sharing out of public. That's in the bottom left. And if you're on YouTube or Twitch, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, tell a friend to do the same, and we'll enjoy our time together talking Titans as we get closer and closer to the start of the regular season. Let's do it. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Zen Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising. If you're new to the show, and I'm proud as always to be presented to you by the great people at TrueMath Fitness in the Gulch. Your first workout is free as a Middle Tennessee resident at TrueMath Fitness. No workout ever recycled or repeated. That's the beauty of TrueMathFitness.com. Zen Sports, up to $100 on your no danger first wager. Get in on that action that only Zen Sports can provide, and you can only get it with the promo code ATOZTN right there. Plug in that promo code, get up to $100 on your no danger first wager. And Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer, is what they are and have been for over 40 years here in Middle Tennessee. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com for more information. Looking at the Titans ahead of this week, there's a lot of different things to work through. Now, Bert and I were kind of going back and forth on this, the idea of position battles, and there's a funny element to point out about the amount or lack thereof of position battles that currently exist on this roster. But we're going to work through that together because it's the first time that we've gotten the opportunity to see all the new pieces and parts on a football field together. Brian Callahan, the new head coach. We did an interview. We did a podcast with Rand Carthon a couple of weeks ago. Rand said that the most underrated part of the Titans' offseason acquisitions has been Brian Callahan because of how much they value that human being's football intellect. So you got the new coach on the field with his new staff. You got the rookies who have been in the building for the last couple of weeks. Rookie minicamp already, the chapter closed on that. So we're full speed ahead into the offseason program. You mix the vets in with the rest of the rookies, you start to see things like Tajay Spears on the field at the same time as J.C. Latham. You start to see the wide receiver core take shape. Tyler Boyd, can we expect him to be in the building this week? I think it's a fair assumption. I think it's a safe assumption, but we'll have to wait until Tuesday when practice is open to the media to find out specifically. And all these different things that you've been fantasizing about in your football dreams at night, now is the first week that we finally get to see how all the parts and pieces will start to work together, will start to look together. It's exciting, even though it's still unpadded practices and the offensive linemen and the defensive linemen are going through walkthroughs and stuff like that. It's a slow build, but we're getting there, and that's the important thing. So as you look at OTAs this week, is there one thing, or what is the most important thing, the biggest thing that you want to learn from OTAs heading into this week of practice? Let me know in the comment section on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. Xavier Cohen says we won't see real action until June, which is incorrect because in June, they'll still be doing things without pads. The first time that you'll see real action is in training camp, which of course is at the end of July. In fact, June is probably about their lightest month of work because it's only the first 2 weeks, and then we take a 6-week break for summer vacation with the NFL. It's also the point in time where I take a good bit of vacation because there's no football going on. So what am I going to do hanging around here? Anyway, July is when you'll start to see the pads pop or hear the pads pop. But either way, let's get to it. Your Two Rivers Ford take is made possible by the South's most trusted Ford dealer, Two Rivers Ford. Quality American-made Ford vehicles and award-winning customer service is what they offer. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. The South's most trusted Ford dealer has all the new and certified pre-owned Ford vehicles that you could possibly want. B-Friend says he wants to know who the slackers in the offseason are. Trippin' Titans says the right tackle battle is the thing that he's most looking forward to seeing at least the start of in OTAs, and that's fair to expect. We've heard from Bill Callahan on this before, specifically the right tackles and talking about J.C. Latham flipping over to the left. There are a couple of different places that you can look at the roster and say, all right, there is going to be a lot of new information that's being processed, a lot of new personnel, all implemented into 2 different systems than the previous regime has run, even if there's some similarities in terms of the plays, the play calling language, whatever the case may be. The blitz packages, Will Levis has already alluded to the idea that his offense at Kentucky, his first year at Kentucky, his most successful year at Kentucky in 2021, this year's offense, the verbiage very much mirrors what he ran in his most successful college season, the season where, had he been able to build upon that instead of regressing in 2022, could have made a great case for Will Levis to be the number 1 overall pick in his draft year. Of course, that didn't happen. And there were a couple of different things that came to pass that derailed Will Levis along the way. But now he will have the ability to try and prove to himself, to his coaching staff, to his roster, and to you guys that he is the person that you've been waiting on to fill this void at quarterback for the next 8 to 10 years. As you look at the OTAs, what is the most interesting element of this to you? To me, I had to think about it for a little bit. And there's a couple of different things that I'm personally interested in. But the thing that I kept coming back to is a thing that I don't think is going to matter very much past August. But I cannot help but have some level of fascination with it. And that's the idea of Malik Willis in a Brian Callahan, Nick Holtz, Bo Hardegree offense. Him working with a staff that is specifically tailored to maximize the quarterback position. Now, are all of those people, have they been brought in? Have the Titans made signings, invested draft capital, and spent money, spent resources, spent time and effort this offseason building the perfect roster for Malik Willis? No, they've done all of this in service for Will Levis. They don't know if he's their future beyond 2024. But the thing that I love about the Titans offseason plan is that they're willing to go in on this the way that they have with the finances, with the draft picks that we've talked about. and bleep around and find out whether Will Levis is going to be 100% the guy. But there's a part of me that, and I don't even want to call it morbid curiosity because there's nothing morbid about it. I'm just genuinely interested to see if Malik Willis can do something that makes this a conversation come training camp time. We've all penciled Mason Rudolph, by the way, the highest paid quarterback on the Titans roster this year, Mason Rudolph. We've all penciled in Mason Rudolph as the surefire number 2 quarterback on this roster come hell or high water, and Malik Willis is just trying to survive and prolong his NFL career in his next potential spot. I think that is also the most likely outcome, but I keep coming back to Malik and just being like, well, what can he do here? Can he not just survive, but can he thrive in this system? Can he make there be a different level of quarterback competition? And it was always a quarterback competition with Malik because last year they were competing to see who would be the backup to Tannehill. Malik won that opportunity, maybe because Will Levis was hurt, maybe on his own volition, whatever the case may be. Those dominoes fell into place, and Malik Willis was the backup quarterback for the entirety of the season. The only difference being Will Levis leapfrogged him after Ryan Tannehill sustained that injury. MB says, you guys have to realize the Buck says things to get the chat going. Don't take the cheese. Well, I appreciate that you think that I do these things in any kind of formulaic fashion. Now, I do acknowledge that there is a formula to media, and that more often than not, it's good to get you guys engaged by saying some things that might rile you up. I appreciate that you think that's the tack that I'm trying to take here. But honestly, I sat there and thought about this for quite some time. I'm not going to know what Brian Callahan's offense really looks like or really care about what it looks like until it's going up against some level of competition. Maybe that's in joint training camp practices, and we'll start to see some level of conceptual design there. I think we'll see some of it in these practices, at least in the walkthroughs, to kind of get a borderline, or rather a baseline, for what the Titans offense in 2024 is going to be, as well as the defense. But I sit there and think about this, and for some reason, guys, I can't for the life of me, maybe because you all keep bringing it up in the chat on a regular basis, so that's where MB thinks that that's where MB thinks my motivations lie. But there is something about me that just wants to sit there and watch Malik Willis over the course of the next couple of months to see how much of a jump, if at all, he can make. Because I don't think that's inconsequential for every player on the roster. Here is a real challenge for Brian Callahan, Bo Hardegree, Nick Holtz, the rest of the Titans coaching staff to undertake. Will Levis is a challenge unto himself. The degree of difficulty, though, is significantly less. Is it more important for them to get Levis right? Of course it is. Nobody's disputing that. Is Malik Willis probably going to end up off the 53-man roster by the time training camp starts, unless there's an injury? More likely than not. Are they going to be able to sneak him on the practice squad? I don't know. Would they even bother? There's just so many elements of this that make a third quarterback compelling and also viable because of the emergency quarterback rule. Malik Willis is the test case for that. MB says, just because it contradicts what you've said about Malik in the past, that's why. But yeah, I haven't had to give a shit about Malik in the past because Malik in the past offense didn't matter. Malik in the past offense was irrelevant. Now we're talking about a coaching staff that has been specifically hired with the task of quarterback growth and quarterback development. And that is as raw and toolsy a player as you can expect to find, who's still kind of this unmolded lump of clay, for lack of a better term, that I want to see if they can turn into anything at all that's viable, either for trade or for backup quarterback viability. There was no reason for me to care about Malik Willis under the previous regime. I knew what that product looked like. I have no idea what Malik Willis is going to look like by the end of the year. And again, or by the end of the summer. And again, it may not matter. The Real Cricket says Malik is still irrelevant. Yeah, but that's the whole point of this time of year. Who are the irrelevant parties that can make themselves relevant? That in and of itself is what this time of year is about on every level. And I'll explain what I mean here in just a second, right after I remind you that the primetime program is presented by the great folks at Zen Sports. Download the app, plug in the promo code ATOZTN, and get up to $100 on your no danger first wager. Zen Sports is the best place to wager on the NBA postseason. You've got the Stanley Cup playoffs going on. Golf, the PGA Championship took place today. Zen Sports has all the best odds boosts and promo bets, and up to $100 on your no danger first wager. Terms and conditions do apply. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789. Must be 21 plus and in the state of Tennessee to bet. So, what do I mean when I focus in on that comment from Cricket on YouTube, who says Malik is still irrelevant? Okay, that's all well and good. On May the 19th, to the general audience, is Malik irrelevant? Yes. Does he still find a way to come up in conversation on the radio show or in the primetime show? And again, not just because I've invoked his name, but this is the angle that I'm taking on it. I'm giving you my opinion on it. I know what Roger McCreary looks like as a slot corner. I've seen that. I'm not saying that I can't stand to learn some things about the defense, watching Denard Wilson coach and seeing the different ways that he implements the players, seeing the different strategies and tendencies that he takes. Same for the offense. Special teams, I'm not going to pretend to spend a lot of time on. If Ryan Stonehouse is healthy, he's a good player. If Nick Folk is healthy, he's a good player. And the return game is the biggest moment of intrigue there. Though, now that I talk about it, taking into account the kickoff rules, there is cause to be more invested as media, pundits, analysts, fans in special teams. So it's not irrelevant this year. But relevance, okay? Let's hone in on the idea of relevance for a second. Treylon Burks is irrelevant right now to the general fan base, to the general Titans fan populace, to the general discourse. Calvin Ridley, Tyler Boyd, DeAndre Hopkins, even Jaquan Jackson to an extent because of the aspect of special teams and backing up Boyd in the slot has a greater degree of relevance than Treylon Burks does. But coming into this season, I want to see how the irrelevant parties can prove their relevance to the roster. Malik Willis, that entire damn draft class, not named Roger McCreary, guys. NPF, Kyle Phillips. How can the irrelevance prove their relevance? Caleb Farley. If I came in here and told you that the most interesting thing to me about OTAs was Caleb Farley, would you have a stronger or less strong reaction about that than Malik Willis, for example? Many of you don't consider Caleb Farley relevant. Caleb Farley has no real relevance, no on-field relevance to the Tennessee Titans in the last couple of years, and he's coming into a contract year situation. Of course, they haven't picked up his fifth-year option. But this is the time of year where you start to see whether there is any path forward for those kind of players at all. There's opportunities at safety. There's competition at corner. Just in the same way that you've built out the depth at wide receiver, wouldn't it be great if you could get anything out of Caleb Farley, anything out of NPF, anything out of Kyle Phillips whatsoever, rather than just consider them sunk costs? This time of year, guys, for me, is about the sunk costs, because I want to actually determine whether those parts can contribute to the ultimate success of this roster in 2024. That's the way that I look at the offseason. Not that there isn't, intrigue in J.C. Latham or Will Levis in year two, or all the different things that you're going to hear millions and millions and millions of times over and over and over again. But for me, I don't think that there's anything wrong with taking the approach at the least significant time of year for the on-field product to see how the least impactful players can find ways to potentially make themselves worth a roster spot, a practice squad spot, or otherwise. I know J.C. Latham's going to get the start at left tackle. I know Will Levis is going to be the starting quarterback. I know Lloyd Cushenberry is going to be the starting center. In fact, when we talk about position battles here in just a second, you're going to understand just how cut and dry, how black and white your week one roster, provided that there's no injuries, actually is. But that's why I'm more interested in the fringe players. And Malik is a fringe player, make no mistake about it. But there's still opportunity there in a league where quarterback play is so lusted after, for that guy to make an impact here, whether it's on the field or as a trade asset. And I'd like to see whether that is viable or not. All right, we'll keep it moving. I've spent too much time on it, but I think you guys understand my larger point. Let's get to position battles here in just a second. Right after the question is, what's the most compelling position battle heading into the Titans offseason program as we ramp things up? OTAs, mandatory minicamp, training camp, not that far into the future. Let me know what you consider the most viable training camp battles. We'll talk about it together right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by the wonderful people at True Math Fitness in the Gulch. The best place for you to get your workout is True Math Fitness. I go there once a week for personal training. You can go 5-6 days a week if you so choose for their for their group fitness classes. You can also sign up for personal training as often, as frequently as you want to make it work with your schedule. And if you want to work out at your own pace on your own time, they have the best facility conveniently located in the Gulch in downtown Nashville that is open to you with a TrueMav Fitness membership. There's all manner of membership options for you to explore all their fitness classes, all their great personal training options, as well as the facility, TrueMavFitness.com. You can get your first workout free there. You will be glad that you did. Position battles on the roster. What are the most compelling ones? Josh Sabata says 3 quarterbacks on the roster. The emergency changes that a little bit, talking about the quarterback battles. Xavier says right tackle. Real Cricket says right guard and tackle are much more relevant than Malik. Cricket just refuses to let this go, even though I've made the explanation as to why I consider the irrelevant conversations far more relevant this particular time of year. Let's see. Left tackle, not really a competition at left tackle yet, though if there becomes a competition at left tackle, that's a very interesting storyline because they've just told us that he's going to get the start at tackle right out of the gate, or at left tackle right out of the gate. And if he doesn't win that, then we're having different questions about these things. Teddy Powell says right tackle and linebackers. That's really all it is. Bert and I were joking before the show started. This roster is so shitty, or has been so shitty, that their entire offseason was just about getting starting players, filling starting jobs. Not even the guys of competition. There is some guys of competition and there is some actual competition. But the actual competition on the roster is pretty few and far between. Guys, they drafted a starting left tackle. You're going to start right away. They paid a starting center. He's going to start right away. They signed a starting wide receiver. He's going to start right away. Pollard, Murray, Awuzie, Snead, Tavondre Sweat, Eric Gray, all of their major primary acquisitions this offseason are going to play right away because this roster has been such a dumpster fire. So when you talk about competition, they're not even at the phase where they have legitimate competition questions at multiple positions. There's 2. It's off-ball. Well, there's 3. There's off-ball linebacker. There's safety, because we still are waiting kind of around. The entire league is waiting to sign safeties, apparently. But there's off-ball linebacker, there's safety, and there's right tackle. And that's basically the list.
Exactly, and that's what it is. Obviously coming out, this kid was highly touted. He did a good job down with the Chargers. I almost said San Diego, but he did a good job with the Chargers and whatnot. And now we see a guy that's a big-time athlete. He's an extremely smart kid. We just want to turn him loose and let him go. He kind of likes being in between the lines, and, hopefully we can get him out on the edges a little bit and let him play free and do what he does best.
And Frank, I'm sorry for you talking about Cedric right out of the gate, but what do you like, what you're seeing him on tape, and what will your message be to him right out of the gate? Again, I like the athlete, like the athleticism. I like that he's a smart kid. Looks like he's in the right place at the right time, doing all the right things. And he seems to be a kid that can fix his mistakes. We saw some stuff early in the season where, he had a hiccup here or there, but later in the season, those things didn't show up. And he seemed to be getting better and better and better. And, hopefully, that arrow's still trending as we get him. And James Williams, one more from me. The transition as he makes his way to linebacker, how will you handle that with him?
Well, baby steps. Obviously, he's got the size, he's got the speed. He's a tough kid. He's got the mentality, and that was the most important thing for me, was to get the kid that was willing to make that transition. And now we just got to give him some tools. The thing he lacks most is tools, not from an athletic standpoint, but from a linebacker standpoint. So we got to bring him along slowly. We've done it before. We had a kid by the name of Mark Barron that, we kind of moved in the box, and that worked out for us. And, there's a formula
And Denard was with me with Mark, and so we kind of have an idea of what we want to do. We just got to get the kid in, give him some wins, get his confidence up, and let him go forward.
What are some of those?
So that's linebacker coach Frank Bush talking about first Kenneth Murray and then Cedric Gray. And of course, there's going to be competition at off-ball linebacker. We think that Gray and Murray are going to be the two starters. That is very much to be determined. Right tackle feels a little more concrete. It feels pretty concrete that those two players in some form or fashion are going to occupy primary roles, Gray and Murray. Right tackle feels like it's NPF's job to lose. The question is, have they brought in enough talent to cost NPF his job? Brunskill is another one. Right guard and right tackle, those two players have the inside track, but neither of them were very good when they played primary roles. NPF in his starting season, really NPF this past season only played one game start to finish. One game in London, he came in for Andre Dillard, who was benched. The second game was the second game was the Falcons game in which he played the entirety. The third game was the Steelers on Thursday night. He got injured. He hurt his shoulder. He was done for the year, and this was after the gambling suspension cost him that first chunk of the season, even though the gambling suspension was amended, and he ended up only missing, I want to say, 2 or 3 games at the start of the year. Either way, if one of those two players on your right side is starting the bulk of your games without even the threat of competition, that I think is a bigger red flag than what they have going on at off-ball linebacker. And that's something that we talked to Bill Callahan about 2 weeks ago when we met with him for the first time.
It's great to be here with Brian, my son, and this staff that Brian's put together. It's exciting. It's an exciting time. So, yeah, everything's been very positive so far. We haven't played a game yet, so we're undefeated.
And we heard a team that moved a guy from a right to a left tackle in the past. I know. What are the biggest challenges, and kind of what makes you think JC is a good guy in terms of being able to?
Yeah, I think, number one, his athleticism. And then, of course, all the measurable traits that he has. And then you add in size, power, strength. And it adds up, to making that move. Very similar in my experience at Dallas when I had Tyron Smith when I came into the Cowboys. He was a right tackle in college. He was a right tackle his rookie year, and we flipped him over. And I think that worked out pretty well. And then Jedrick Wills, when he was drafted out of Alabama for the Browns, was a right tackle in college. We flipped him. And another guy in my past was Barry Sims from the Raiders. He was a tackle out of Utah, who we found in the World League at that time, which no longer exists. But he ended up making that switch to left tackle as well. So I think if you have the athleticism, and you have strength, I think, and you have the muscle memory to, change some skill sets, I think it's doable.
You have any doubts about his ability to do it?
I don't.
What do you see in the right tackle candidates that are here on the roster right now in terms of, Nicholas Petit-Ferrer and Jalen Duncan and Watson, who you coached in Cleveland?
Well, they're all here. They're all working hard. I think, to begin with in spring, when you're coming into a new system, new coaches, I'm just evaluating, assessing, trying to help these guys learn a whole new different toolbox than they're accustomed to. I think they're exceptional hard workers, and that's great. That's a good start for us. But then how it plays out, I think we'll wait. I'll kind of be a little bit more reserved on my judgment until we get into training camp and we get a chance to see them in the preseason.
So that's Bill Callahan talking at length about the offensive line group. So that's where your competition lies at this point, and we'll see how it plays out. OTAs, we'll have to wait, of course, for the offensive line group in particular, but the off-ball linebacker is something that you can start to see things taking shape right away. All right, Sunday Funday. We'll wrap things up with the best thing that we saw in sports this weekend. Let me know on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. What gave you the feel good? Maybe it's my Indiana Pacers advancing past the New York Knicks. They're going to be playing in the Eastern Conference Finals, the mighty Sirs en route. We're going to get some more good NBA basketball. Perhaps it was the finish to the Mavericks OKC game yesterday. Absolutely electric. the way that Dallas was able to secure that win. It was a great time. The postseason basketball has been excellent, and I'm looking forward to getting into some of that. What gave you the feel good this sports weekend? Let me know. We'll talk about it together right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. Don't sell without the intel that Gary Ashton provides to you, the official real estate agent of A to Z Sports Primetime, and the Nashville Predators is GaryAshton.com. All right, what gave you the feel good in sports? Boss Man Jim also all in on the Indianapolis Pacers. How about that? Lewis says Kyle Larson, Indianapolis 500, go 17. We're a couple of weeks out from the Indianapolis 500, as a matter of fact. Somebody asked me at work if I wanted to do something show-related at the Indy 500, and I said, absolutely not. I went twice in college. That's the worst my body has ever felt in my life, save Las Vegas for my 21st birthday. I don't ever want to see the Snake Pit or the Coke Lot or any of that other bullshit up there at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway ever again. I'm very happy to watch it on television, even though a lot of times it's blacked out on TV. Anyway, who needs to bounce back in sports? Give me your submission, and I will tell, or excuse me, not bounce back. It's Sunday Funday. What is the best thing that you saw this sports weekend? Easy for me to say. The best thing that I saw this sports weekend is something that it does not appear to be in my rundown here, Bert. That's really unfortunate. That is, in fact, the case that I don't have the video that I wanted to play here. So you're going to have to think on your feet and devise a situation. In fact, maybe I'll just put you on camera and you'll be my Sunday Funday.
So why did the pony ask for a glass of water, Debo? Because it was a little horse. Why so serious?
What do you call a jet that flies backwards? You might get this one.
Jet.
A receding airline.
Why would I get that? Explain the joke to me.
The hair thing. We'll just go to the next one.
No, we're not done.
What do you call a horse that lives next door? A neighbor. Can y'all give me some better questions? This man is scaring the hell out of me.
What do you call a sick eagle?
Philadelphia Eagle.
Illegal, like illegal. Bruh, he's not laughing.
Because the receding hairline is like, or airline.
But you're saying I would get it because...
Well, I feel like you know a lot of people with hair disabilities.
Oh.
Why couldn't anyone see the falcon?
I don't know, maybe it was flying too high.
Yeah, it was in disguise. Disguise.
So what you call two birds that stick together? Velcros.
What did the Raiders say when he turned 80?
I don't know what he said.
I'm 80.
That was funny.
What did the Ghost Cowboys wear on their feet?
I don't know this one.
Boots.
That was weak.
That was weak.
That was...
I didn't write it.
You got a great beard.
I think you did a good job of...
Thank you.
Surviving.
What do you call a fear of giants? Phobia.
What kind of music do elves listen to? Rap music. Get it? Cause like rapping paper.
That ain't funny.
What do you call a Cincinnati Bengals reflection? A copycat.
What's a Chargers' favorite dessert? Chocolate cake.
These are really eating you up, huh?
I'm sorry. That was.
So that is the Steelers, the Pittsburgh Steelers schedule release, having players tell bad jokes to James Harrison. What are you pointing at, Bert? What do you want? You got my video?
Okay. Including people who have a dead tree and let it fall on a neighbor's car. Okay. Look at that! Get the fuck out! Get the fuck out! Get the fuck out! It's fake! It's fake! It's fake! It's fake! It's fake! I'm sorry. I don't like snakes. Oh, I didn't know. Breathe.
I think mine was funnier, Bert. That's going to do it for us tonight. We appreciate you guys spending your time here with us. Radio show tomorrow. Ron Slay will be talking some NBA playoff basketball. I'll get you ready for Titans OTAs. We'll preview the conversations that we're going to have at Titans OTAs because we've got some special guests coming up throughout the course of this week. Make sure you're subscribed to 104.5 The Zone on YouTube. If you like this show, then you will love the radio show. That's not because of me. That's because of everybody else that you guys will enjoy instead of me on the radio show. If you're not already listening from 10 to 1 on 104.5 The Zone, of course, you can get it on FM radio. You can get it via podcast. You get it wherever you get your podcasts, all that good stuff. Have a great rest of your weekend. I will talk to you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. on 104.5 The Zone.
Go home! Go home! Go home! You're embarrassing Nashville! Go home!